What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be going over the bull chart for Webull. A lot of people have been talking about this. A lot of people are wondering what is going on with Webull. Well, let's take a look at this chart because I myself have been bullish on this stock, and well, it's a little bit frustrating what's actually happening here. See, we have this spring actually developing here in sort of a Wyckoff accumulation type pattern, and here's what's keeping us down when we actually look to the GAN which is anchored up at the very top of the move. We have the line going down, and you can see that we are actually holding inside right at that line. Right, so this is much better to use than trend lines actually, because it gives you a much better picture of what's actually happening. So for example, as you can see here, it held with the GAN line, and once it broke out, there we go, it started another up move, and technically that's how these things work when you're using GAN fans. Another thing that I did on this chart was actually well, it's actually difficult to do a long range analysis of cycles with the Hurst cycles, excuse me, because there's not much history on this stock, which is why it's a stock that generally you want to stay away from, right? Because when things don't have a history, you can't read the cycles on it too well, but you can go on a shorter time frame and actually start to figure out where these things start to align. So as you can see, we have a major cycle bottom right here, and this cycle arc kind of takes us right through here, and you can see that we keep rejecting at it right there every single time. It looked like we were going to try to break out recently, but it failed when the market started to come down, and this sort of actually looks like on the daily time frame a bottoming candle right here, an upside down hammer. So what I am seeing on this chart is this cycle right here is the problematic one, right? So when we look at it on the weekly time frame, to give you a much cleaner picture, let's use lines. You can see that this cycle kept us right inside the entire time. It's very frustrating because the price just keeps moving down and down inside of it. So when we zoom in closer, you can see that the cycle tightens up right there, and it appears that we did have a breakout on the daily time frame. So generally what you would expect to happen now is for the cycle to sort of continue down, sort of like that, as the cycle's containing previous price action as well. When you have one of these breakouts, what generally happens is that the price comes and touches the outer wall, and now the price can run down the outer wall, or it can start a new uptrend. So what's happening right now is that, as we discussed, this GAN line is the problem, right? What I anticipate to happen for this to turn bullish is that I would like to see like some sort of catalyst that gets this thing going up and out right through here, right? So a reversal through here would mean that the price would actually start going into a new cycle, which I have in this blue line right here that I anticipate to start happening pretty soon. And what would happen is the price would actually travel up to touch the top of that next GAN line, which is 1474. That's what we're looking at right there. If bullish price action can continue, which I don't think it will at that point, what I anticipate is it travels down, looking for the next catalyst to take it back out and into the next line. At that point, you could start thinking about deleting this GAN and replacing it with a brand new one here to see where your uptrend is going to start taking you. But for now, we are in the downtrend, so we are sticking with this GAN as is from the top right here. Now, as long as the price remains inside this thing on the weekly, this guy could bleed all the way down. There's nothing stopping it. right? There's no support. That's gone from here. Previous support. One thing I did want to point out, which is actually interesting that nobody's talking about, is first of all, we have a buy signal right here, right? That was the previous buy signal on the daily time frame. So now you would actually anticipate that this was a strong buy signal. You would actually get a higher one here, right? For your next one, as you can see the price remain in here, you would actually get the next buy signal on the next low, which would create a divergence right here, and that would actually take the price out, up and out. You can see the RSI is obviously completely oversold on the daily. That's pretty obvious. But here's one thing that I found really interesting. When we look at Hood, let's take a look at Hood on the right side. Check this out. This is actually really cool. So Hood was also on IPO at some point, and the price dropped in the same exact way that Bull is dropping, right? So check this out. Here's that Ganfan line, the same exact one that we're using for here, and you can see that price actually bounced from here, well, rejected, not bounced, rejected from here on the touch, rejected from here on the touch, and then you had this move down, which finally led to enough energy to actually break out of the fan. And take a look what happened, right? The new cycle began, and now we got to the other Ganfan line. Price proceeded down, just as I was saying that it should do here, right? Came to the bottom, back to the top of that Ganfan, and the point where we actually took off was after some consolidation between those points, 1280 back to 820, 1213, whatever, and then you finally broke out because you got into this really the end of the Ganfan, right? That was really the end of the consolidation process. Again, we have this problem where look at how it's bleeding out right there, right against that fan line. This is showing alignment is taking place. You can see that it's still open, so it's not ready for reversal on the daily. However, because it's a younger stock, you need to look at the shorter time frame. So with the shorter time frame, you could see the cycles actually start to take shape. Here's a low right here when these cycle align, and you had divergence. Here it didn't even have the red territory to tell you that the major cycles, see, this is more of a major cycle alignment. When it reaches the red territory, the extreme green is a major cycle alignment for the top. This is a minor, so you can see that the move is very small, right? So when you have the larger one through here, the move is, well, this one was kind of small too, let's be honest, but you also don't have much red on there. This one here, I was actually surprised at the failure of it right here, because it did look like you were going to get cycle alignment there, and the cycle aligned right there, but failed. So what we're looking at right now is actually the same thing happening right through here, right? So here's your divergence right there, and you are in major cycle alignment. The reason this one probably didn't play out because this is the 4-hour time frame, right? So normally this plays out much better on the higher time frames when you see that alignment start to happen. But again, as you can see, there is a heartbeat here, and you can see that low come in right there. Here's another little pop and another low come in right there with divergence on this thing. Okay, so what you would anticipate to happen is that now you start to bounce to come into the top here, sort of like you did up here. Up here was more towards the middle, here again towards the top. Here again, we just kind of consolidated throughout the entire cycle. Here again, you had right in the middle of the cycle, you had a top, right? So, you know, do we have some sort of consolidation that takes place here so the price could kind of make its way out eventually, or is something going to drive it really hard for this to actually come up and complete its cycle early? That's also possible. Is it enough for the earnings to shoot right through here up to this trend line, 1443? It's quite possible, but the way PayPal's been acting, the way kind of Hood has been acting, I wouldn't expect too much from this, to be honest, for the short term. We could definitely have a pop. I don't think this guy's in a short squeeze. I don't think it's going to do anything crazy for now. I think what's going to happen is that it does exactly what Webull did. what Robinhood did when it first IPO'd. Mainly, we're looking for this cycle to complete right through there. That would give us alignment, like I said, through here, and that would be your Hurst cycle alignment for a major reversal to the upside that can continue for a long time. So that is what I'm seeing here. It's a very frustrating trade. It's been a pain in the butt, but this is what a spring looks like. Unfortunately, it's very I don't like the 5-minute time frame on this. It's completely pointless to look at. This is unfortunately what a spring looks like, right? We can see that Robinhood had the same sort of accumulation process before it took off, but the consolidation process took forever. I mean, it didn't happen overnight. You can see that very well. One thing that I don't like, I'm going to point this out. One thing I don't like about Webull is that you can see that these guys traded like exactly the same price ranges. So while we can look at that wave structure and get sort of an idea where things should land and whatever, here's something that's worrisome. So you had Robinhood at 1539, okay, and that leg went all the way from 15 whatever, like we said, estimate, down to 687. What is the high here? 1565. I mean, that's, you can see how close that actually is right there, right? So if you're looking at the actual complete strength of the entire leg down, this went down, it bounced around here, but you did end up ultimately finishing at 685, the same price. It's exactly the same price, all the way down to 685. So that would actually complete this move. Believe it or not, there's a trend line that you could tag right here, which I have on here, the orange one, right? And here's something interesting. Here's the same sort of line on Robinhood. We can even make it orange. And then you have a wedge. There's your wedge. You come out, come back, test the top of it, and then you finally begin your next move. So that's what I don't like about Webull actually right now, is that the price action as far as the levels concerned are very, very similar. So this move can keep bleeding out all the way down to here. Now, if it gets here, just shut up and buy. I mean, really, that's all it comes down to. That's like pretty obvious what is going to happen after that. So do I think the CEO buying shares and all that stuff is going to take the stock up? I would like it to, but let's be realistic. This move is very much similar to this move right here. This leg right here is this leg right here, and then you have this little stupid bounce, sort of consolidation sideways for the last leg. So you can come down here, sort of get everybody back in on earnings, and oh my goodness, this thing's gonna take off. Finish it off at 11.94, and then come all the way back down to this trend line. So really, there's no edge here. There's no edge. We are outside of the, like I said, the support zone. So here we are with that support zone actually breaking right here on Robinhood. Price comes down as it's coming down right now, and then it comes up to retest. Here it comes up to retest that breakout, fails again, and then starts to complete its last leg. Last leg going from 1087 down to 685. So, you know, earnings might actually end up being a short on this. 1087. Where's 1087? Around there. And then you come down. So it's very hard to judge for me right now what I would do on this thing, because like I said, we are on that Ganfan line. We see what happens when you break it. Okay? And all it takes is that one break, by the way. All it takes is that one break. Once you're out of it, you're failing. Once you're out of it, you're done. Right? My concern is, what if we just keep bleeding through here, straight down to here, and then start to come up, right? So this is a rough trade. It's a rough trade. We still have the RSI pointing downwards here on the daily. It's not, I'm not trying to recover yet. What's it doing on the 4 hour? Yeah, still looks pretty gross. So I wouldn't add anything at this point. I wouldn't get caught up in the hype. Can it blast off to 18 and for no reason just go there? You never know. These days with Reddit and stuff, I hear it's trending on Reddit. Who knows? But the point is that no, this guy could keep bleeding, and then when you find support here at 645, then you would start to break out, mimicking exactly what Robinhood did. And then here's your 1, 2. Yeah, this takes a while. You do it 1, 2, 1, 2, and then you start to go up in your 3, 4, 5s. So this thing could easily just go down here, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up, you know, by sometime next year, at the end of 2026 and 2027. I don't like this trade. I don't like it. I'm gonna be honest. I don't like it. It's in no man's land right now. It had some hope right here, as it was kind of testing this support and bouncing from it, and it really looked like it was gonna go. But I'm telling you, it's just copying that Robinhood move, without anything changing its mind, right? So again, that's my thesis on Webull. This is something that you're better off staying out of, or if you got in around here on this break, you added a small position, I would wait to get down here before I would add anything additional. I'm sorry about my dog. I don't know if you guys can hear him in the background, but he likes to bark at the TV. So yeah, I would hold off on adding shares here. If you do break from this Ganfan, you could think about adding new shares, because then you would know that you're starting to go up. But even this support cycle right here, that broke. I mean, there's no history here, so you're kind of shooting in the dark as far as these cycles go. So your next way to align this would be something like this, maintaining the integrity from here. And look what that sort of does too. it's just looking to catch price lower and lower and lower. I don't see any reason for this to sort of reverse at this exact moment. I just don't see it. This is technically, you're looking at an expanding wedge. Here's the top of it right here, bottom, top. Price then fails and comes all the way back to the bottom of the wedge, where it can begin a reversal process. It's just a larger wedge. I saw it as a smaller one previously, and well, we get humbled. We need to pay attention to everything in this stock market. You can't just examine one thing and take these guys off, because we have not started a new cycle yet. We're looking for a cycle to support, to catch the price where we can begin trending upwards. So that's Webull for now. I'll see you guys next time out. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff, because it helps with the algos. That's what they say. So yeah, I'll see you guys next time.